Let's go ahead and get started, you guys. I'm going to be a little more informal than my usual informal way. Paul Swigos, I've known him for about 3 years. He's like many of us, basically moved here via Boston, DC, and his focus is on marketing and communications primarily. But I think that, and as anybody knows, the basis, for marketing and communications is a pretty solid business plan. If you don't even know who you are, how are you going to tell people who you are, that kind of thing. So we have a great presentation, and I would just say, and he'll talk about it a little bit, this is probably going to become a little bit the basis for what we're doing next month, which is running the Fridays of Court, which is an all-day session on different business topics that are kind of foundational in nature. So
Come on in.
I'll let you take it away.
Good morning. For those of you who are over here, come on in, don't worry about it. We're going to be working off of this side over here, not the slides so much, so sit wherever you want to, but make sure you can kind of see this up here. And I'm going to have you walk up here and do work later, so don't be somewhere where you can't move. Good morning. Beautiful Friday in Charleston. Who can't not love this? I was telling Ernest and a couple of folks might have heard, I went to go pick up my mom at the airport last night. She flew in from Fort Lauderdale. She said, "Oh, it's lovely up here. It's a little colder." I said, "Okay, Mom." And she says, it was about 11 o'clock last night. She says, so what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, "Well, I'm going downtown. I'm going to give a little talk at the CDC." She says, "Oh, can I come?" "No, you cannot come, Mom." And she says, "Well, what are you going to talk about?" I said, "We're going to talk about business plan, business development." She says, "Oh, well, that's nice. Explain it to me." And on the car ride back from the airport, I did. I told her pretty much what I was going to be telling you guys. And she says, "Oh, well, that sounds simple. I get it." Now, okay, I'm putting the Minnesota twang in there, but you understand it's old lady stuff. So she's 77. She gets it. She was never an entrepreneur. She was never a businesswoman. So I think you guys are going to get it. Ernest mentioned, I'm a marketing communications guy. Marketing PR, that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I'm not a business strategist. The reason why I'm going to talk to you about what I'm going to talk about today is because, number one, I need to do this myself. I cannot do my job unless the people I work with have got this foundational stuff. And maybe more important, because I'm not a business strategist, I'm like you. I've got a wonderfully average IQ probably, and it's not gonna go over your heads. If I get it, anyone can get it, and I'm really kind of proud of being average that way. So if I can understand how to do this business model generation, you can, and you can do it yourselves. And it's all about empowering you to do what you need to do so I can help you do what you need to do later. Okay, so why are we all here today? It's my favorite slide. If we lose PowerPoint after this, life is good, because you got to start the day with stormtroopers. Who is an entrepreneur? Who has their own business, starting their own business, thinking about starting their own business? Okay, good. Hats off to you for having the guts to do that. Okay, for those of you who did not put your hand up, put your hand up. Okay, sir, what is your name? What do you do, and what do you want to get out of today?
My name's Jay Orr. I work for Medion. We're a data center cloud company. We essentially streamline IT efficiencies and increase your application uptime. I'm just looking to participate in the digital quarter and just hear what you have to say.
Okay, cool. Who else had their hand up just now? Don't be shy, because you know I'm going to call on you.
Yeah. My name's Dan Coombs. I'm with Lifecycle Talent. So I'm in an entrepreneurial venture, so I run a lot of business for Lifecycle Engineering, doing talent acquisition.
What do you want to get out of today?
Always interested to learn about business strategy, business planning. So interested to hear what you have
One
to
more
say.
victim. Anyone, someone over here. You came in late, so you know I'm going to pick on you.
Okay, my name's Elizabeth. I've been doing a lot of tutoring with the coaching, and I'm just interested in all of this, also interested in learning a lot about business.
Cool. Okay, great. I hate to leave this slide, I just really do, but okay. So let me ask you a question. Did any of you just roll out of bed this morning, fall into your car, and serendipitously wind up at CDC in time for the start of the show? Anybody? Raise your hand, because I want you to buy my next lottery ticket. Okay. You signed up, you put this on your calendar. Some of you even paid $25, which I'll buy you a cup of coffee later for that. You took traffic into account. You did all those things. You planned to get here. With the exception of you, on time too, by the way. I'm going to keep on doing that. But you all planned to do that, and that was to safeguard a $25 investment. All right. People invest their lives, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their business, and yet, and you think I'm kidding about this, they don't put as much time into planning their business as they do how you're going to get from your house to the CDC in the morning. And that's ridiculous to think about, and if you think I'm overstating, I'm not. I've got a lot of examples about that. So, quiz. I know the dog is really cute. It's not mine. So quiz, left-hand side. Someone tell me where the business plan is. Where is the business plan?
Dog ate it.
Dog ate it. Dog sitting on it. The one on the left was developed to satisfy a requirement, probably for a small business loan or a bank, because the banks say you must give me a huge tome of information in order for us to give you money. I have a client that I work with. They produced a 96-page business plan. All words, no pictures. 96 pages of 8.5 by 11, mind-numbing detail so they could get a grant. And they got the grant, and that's awesome. 96 pages of information that they produced, business plan. It was a static document. It has never been used. It has never been updated in the 2 years that I've worked with them and I've known them. It has not been updated. It's not been used. They don't use it for any kind of stick and rudder guidance. It doesn't tell them where they are. It doesn't tell them where they're going. It was an exercise in paper to get a loan. Okay, fine, but is that really what you want? Do you really kind of want something that's going to help you define where you're going to go from here and how you're going to get there and where are the waypoints along the way? So on the right, where's the business plan on the right? They're entrepreneurs.
Post-it notes?
No, they're entrepreneurs. They don't have a business plan. They don't need to look at them. They're high-fiving. Come on, yeah, we're awesome. Yeah, okay, that's fine. You can be awesome. Awesome all you damn want to. There is no business plan. I don't read bulleted slides, by the way, so y'all can read that for yourselves. Don't take offense. I wear jeans most of the time, too. I don't shave every once in a while. I'm actually really not joking about this. We work almost exclusively, primarily with startups and entrepreneurs. I do that for a reason, because I like building things and I like helping people build things. It's easy to work with established things already and take credit for it. But the people who go out there and they have the guts to start their own business, that's who needs the help and that's who deserves the help. Now, I love these guys, and a lot of the people I work with look very much like the person that's on their previous slide, high five. And that's all fine and well, but they need a business plan too. Now, I hear this all the time. Paul, man, I'm different. We got something unique. Man, it's cutting edge. You want bleeding edge? Bleeding edge, by the way. My definition of bleeding edge. Run your finger along the side of that piece of paper. You want bleeding edge, that's what you're going to get, bleeding edge. By the way, paper. It's a very unique concept. I like it. I use it. If it catches on, remember who told you about it. I almost wasn't going to do PowerPoint today, but I can't not start with stormtroopers, so there you go. Entrepreneurs. So they're great, I love them, but sometimes they need to be brought back down to earth a little bit, because there is more to it than just looking the part. You got to actually, do some of the legwork too. To illustrate the folly of that approach, let me tell you a story. True story from about 2 years ago. I got a call from a young man, really neat kid. And he was with one of our local highfalutin business accelerators that I will not mention the name of. And he was almost ready to graduate. He was like 12 weeks through a 14-week course, or 14 weeks through a 16-week course, wherever it was. He was about ready to be done. So he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Paul, I would like you to come help me develop a marketing plan for my business. I said, I love it. Great. I would be down there in a heartbeat. This is awesome. This is what we do. Really, and again, really great kid. I kind of had some initial exposure to his product, but really didn't understand it all much. Very, very excited to hear about it. So I sat down with a big old whiteboard, fistful of pens. I'm ready to go. I said, okay, so tell me about your product a little bit. Well, you know, it does this, it does this, it does this. And I don't want to identify this person because I'll skip to the end. It failed. But what it was basically a aid for people who are doing presentations. So as a presentation aid, tech support, if you want to call it that. It was interesting. It was niche. I said, okay, so great, well, got that product. Who's going to buy it? Who's going to use it? Who are your customers? Who are your customer segments? And he says, well, you know, anyone who's given a presentation. Okay, well, that cuts it down to about 1 billion people. Can you help me out any more than that? Well, you know, people who are using Apple or Google products. Oh, okay, well, that cuts it down to 999 million. Okay, fine, we need a little bit more work here. We'll circle back around to that. I said, okay, so we got this ubiquitous bunch of people over here that want your product. What do they need? Have you identified the need? And he says, well, my product does this. I said, stop. It's not about what your product does. It's not about what you are going to do for them or give them or sell them. It is about what they need. If you take nothing away from today's discussion, it is about the customer and fulfilling their need, the what's in it for me question. If you don't address that, you're going in the wrong direction. I said, so how is this fulfilling a need that they have? Is this something that is so unique they can't get along without it? Is it something that's going to make them more productive? What is it going to do? And he said, well, didn't have an answer for that. Okay, and that's value proposition. You have to understand what is bringing the customer value. What do they want out of it? And he didn't quite figure that one out. So okay, fine. Well, let's move on. Where are you going to sell it? How are you going to sell it? You're going to sell it online? You're going to go to stores? What are you going to do? Are you going to market through it? Well, hadn't really thought about that. Don't know. Huh? Okay. How do you plan on attracting customers? How are you going to build a relationship with them? How are you going to communicate with them? Well, I've got a Facebook page. God strike me dead when I hear that from people. Oh, I've got a Facebook page. Oh, well, that's the answer to everything now, isn't it? I suppose that's all we all need to do. You know what? Go home. Get a Facebook page. You'll all be millionaires, right? That's kind of the answer, it seems. I said, okay, really? So this product, are you going to offer support? What happens if it breaks? Are you going to help people fix it? Are you going to offer replacement? What are you going to do? Oh, hadn't thought about that. Okay. All right, let's get to a key question. How are you going to make money? Have you sold any? I sold one. So, wow, who's the guy who bought that? I said, how much to sell for? He said, $199. I said, that's a good price, $199, and you sold one. Okay, that's awesome. So we don't exactly know how we're going to sell it, but at least we know we're going to sell for $199. I said, what was your profit margin? He said, I don't know. Come again? Well, I'm not sure. I said, how much did it cost you to build one? Well, I'm not sure. And so I started asking about his resources. What do you need as far as raw materials? What goes into this? Do you need to do production? Who are the people you need to partner with? He's like, well, we built it in my buddy's garage when I bought this and I bought this and I bought this. And I was like, how much did this cost? How much did that cost? How much did your time cost? How much are you going to pay your buddy to help build this? $30 an hour, $40 an hour? And we finally nugged this out and we figured out it costs about $90 to build one. I said, okay, and you're selling for $199, which is basically about a 200% markup. Yeah, okay, fine. I said, all right, so now we've realized how much it costs you to do this, and we figured out how much you're going to sell it for, maybe, kind of, sort of. But you see where I'm going with this. He didn't have any kind of plan for any of this, and I had to put my arms around him and say, I love you, man, and he's a great kid. I can't do what I need to do for you as far as helping you develop a marketing plan for a product that doesn't exist, except in your brain. You have not done any of the legwork that needs to be done to really set you up for that. Yeah. You might think that's an outlier. I will simply tell you that I work with an awful lot of entrepreneurs. And my first question, I've learned this the hard way, my first question when I walk in the door is, can I see your business plan? Let me see your business plan. And if they don't have one, I kind of tell them nicely, okay, we're gonna have to develop one, you're gonna have to develop one, because I can't do what I need to do unless I understand what your objectives are and how your business runs. I mean, that's key and essential information right up front. And again, it goes back to, you planned how to get here this morning, but you didn't plan how you were going to make your business successful. I mean, what ends up invariably happening, I talk to someone, they're like, oh man, I had this great idea for something, and what's the first thing they did? They went and got their domain name, okay, and they picked out a cool name for their company and designed a logo. Well, there you go. And then they got their Facebook page. So they're done, they're good. That's their business development. So what I am going to do now, and when I say I mean we. And when I say we, I mean you. We are going to develop our own business plan, business model, and we are going to use Alexander Osterwalder's business model generation. If you have not seen it, highly recommend it. We'll talk about it later. No, you can't have my copy, and no, I'm not giving it away to the person who answers the most questions. But it's a very visual representation. I'm a visual guy. Okay, big pictures, small words, few words. And what you have on the handouts in front of you is a text version of how this all works out and the questions that you need to ask yourself when you are looking at each of the 9 categories. I am not going to read those questions. You can read them yourselves. You can ask them as we're going through this together. You can ask them as you are examining your own business and developing your own business model. And that will put you on the path to righteousness and helping fill this out for yourself. So I am going to go ahead and start. We're going to use a real company for this so everyone can participate. I thought about saying, okay, we're going to do your company, then everyone else tunes out because it really doesn't have anything to do with you. So we're going to use a real company. Has anyone, raise your hand, have anyone here ever heard of a company called Google? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, most people. Has anyone ever used it? Anyone ever used Google? Okay, the search engine. Everyone? Okay, good. So we're on the same page here. We're going to build Google's business plan right here, right now, over the next 20, 30 minutes. You're going to do it, and you're going to see really how freaking simple this is. Now, as we do this, let's confine ourselves to Google search and web-based stuff. I know they're doing Chrome. I know they're doing, phones. Mine's around here somewhere. I've got a Google phone right here. Okay, they don't make money. Doesn't make them money. Okay, that's not how they monetize. So let's stick to kind of the search aspects and their web-based aspects of it. And I'm going to be asking you all to come up here, whoever is fool enough to answer my questions, and fill stuff out and put it up here on the campus. And you're going to see how this all lays itself out. And I'm going to give you an example of a real-life one that's done when we're all done. So first things first. We're going to look at customer segment. It's the same question that I asked my own entrepreneur. It's the one over here. It's that little guy who's sitting there with his hands on his hips looking around like, I want to buy something. What do I buy? So let's think about customer segment and think about Google, okay? Ask yourself this question. Who does Google create value for? Who derives value from Google's web-based application? Anyone? Come, shout it out. Who?
People who are selling stuff.
People who are selling stuff. Okay. People who are looking for stuff. Come on up here, write it down.
Me?
Yeah, oh hell yeah. Sellers. And Kevin, what did you say?
Searchers.
Searchers, people who are searching the web. Write it down, use a different color. And go ahead and just put it up on the customer segment. Who else? Who else uses Google?
Customer segment?
Buyers.
Yep. Buyers. Come on up here, write it down. Who else uses Google? Who is a customer segment of Google? Who is Google looking for as a customer?
Advertising.
Advertisers. Write that down. Who else? Who else? Who else? Come on, keep it going. I'll give you a hint. Who here has a website? Anyone have a website that they put content on, that they blog or anything? Okay. Have you ever gotten a solicitation from Google about, hey, you could do advertising, Google advertising on your website, okay? They have something called AdSense that they get third-party people who have content generators that they ask them to go ahead and run Google Ads. It's the way that they extend their reach and their presence. I'll go ahead and write that one down, and I'll just say content creators. We pretty much hit it, who the customers are. We've got sellers, searchers, buyers, ads, advertisers. We've got content creators. Pretty good list of who Google's customers are, right? Okay. I am going to, let's see. I usually try and color code these. When I do this, that's why I get all these cute pastel things here. There's a reason. Try and color code some of these. Buyer, seller. Okay, you know what? We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, so I think we've got the customer segments. Okay, it's not that hard. Okay, you got it right there. So let's think about the value proposition, and let's start looking at the customers. Think about this from the customer's point of view. What is the value proposition that Google offers their customers, that their customers want? And take a look at it from the standpoint of who's up here right now. Let's think about it. People who search. What's in it for them to use Google?
It's a meta search engine.
Okay.
It's
And
efficient. They find what they're looking for.
okay. Come on. However you want to word that. Meta search engine. It's a great. Can everyone pretty much agree it's the most dominant, best search engine on the planet right now? Does anyone use anything but Google? I mean,
Oh, it's Bing sometimes.
yeah, Bing sometimes. I mean, if it accidentally pops up on my screen, I might do it by accident, or Yahoo because it sneaks in the back door or something.
What do you want this value prop?
Put it down in value proposition. Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, so, and oh, by the way, it's a great search engine. Has anyone paid? Has anyone ever paid to use Google search? It's free! So, best search engine on the planet, and it's free. That's a pretty good value proposition, right? In fact, free. Okay, so let's think about advertisers, okay? What's the value proposition for an advertiser using Google as their advertising platform?
Visibility.
Visibility? Get on up here. We'll use red since we started red. So, I'm sorry, ma'am, you said something else?
It's the same thing, exposure.
Exposure, visibility. Think about this from the advertiser's point of view. I'm an advertiser. What is Google giving me that I can't get somewhere else? Besides exposure, which is good, what else?
Analytics.
Analytics. Keep going. You're on the right track. Analytics.
It's very targeted.
Get on up here. Write that down. Targeted, analytical, and targeted. Highly targeted too, because let's face it. You go in there, you search. Bing. What pops up? Not Bing, but what pops up? But ads that are targeted to what you're searching for. So as an advertiser, holy crap, I don't have to do mass market stuff. I'm not paying for a television commercial that is going to reach 2% of my target audience, no matter what Nielsen says. I am actually targeting people who at that very moment, that very point in time, are actively searching for something associated with the product I want to sell. Wow, what a concept. Okay, so, okay, great. What else? What else for advertisers? I mean, that's pretty good for advertisers, right? If you're a content owner, if you're a content creator, where's your value proposition? Did you know that if I, as a content creator, offer to let Google do advertising through AdSense on my site, I do revenue sharing with them? So I make money. Come on, write that down. content creators, revenue share, or make money monetizing your content. We had buyers and sellers up there. Buyers and sellers what's the value proposition for them to be on Google? Is there necessarily a value proposition for them to be on Google? Think about it.
You find the best fit. If you're looking for a product, you either find the best price or the best quality.
So does that kind of come back to the search engine thing, kind of, sort of, a little bit? Because again, along the way, you always want to freewheel and put stuff up here, but this also helps you wheedle down as you kind of work your way through it and connect the dots. Is that really a customer segment, or is that a segment or a sub-segment of one of the ones that's existing up there? I would say from the searcher-buyer perspective, perhaps, or from the buyer-seller perspective, if you're a seller, you're probably going to have a presence on the web, and Google's real value proposition for you is going to be in the fact that you're going to get targeted advertising if you choose to advertise. From a buyer's perspective, the fact that they are the best search engine on the planet is going to help direct you to where you need to go. It's important to understand that and to have it up there, but then you can kind of start nugging things down and connecting the dots. And that's one of the reasons, I'll kind of give this one away, one of the reasons why if you color code some of these, when you've got this busy thing up here later, you can start connecting the dots. I do that, like pink goes with pink, blue goes with blue, yellow goes with yellow, etc., etc. You can start connecting the dots and see where the relationship is. And that's important because if you ever want to take this and put this into a written format down the road, because you want to go to a bank and get money from the bank, okay, it's pretty easy to do. Okay, so value proposition, I think we've come up with three pretty solid value propositions. Free, awesome search engine, revenue creation, it's analytically great targeted. Visibility exposure is kind of like for everybody. I mean, everyone shares in that one, right? Okay, so let's look at channels. And you've got the handout, you can look at some of the questions about channels. Channels are right here. Channels, you know, with a little truck, it's how are you getting your product to that customer segment. Now with Google, it's kind of interesting because they're web-based, right? So I would tell you right up front, in my personal opinion, they're their own advertisers because they're just out there. I mean, who doesn't know what Google does and where Google is and where to find it on the web? So that is one thing. But what else? How else do they channel that? Has anyone here, if you have a business or you work at a business, have you ever been called by Google? I have. I get constantly, I get the phone calls. Hey, would you like to, we looked at your website and you could optimize and blah, 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 and advertise and so and so. So they do have a sales force that does reach out and contact people. I'll go ahead and write that down just because I will. What color should I use? I don't know. I use yellow. So there's some personal communication. They do Salesforce. They get the phone calls.
Do they also bundle with software or other?
You are absolutely on the right track, ma'am. How many of you have Gmail? How many of you use Google Drive or any of the other apps that Google has developed? Okay, come on up here and write that down. I would just put application services, whatever.
It's a little bit outside of just what we think of Google, but Google Analytics, which helps us with some of the...
Thank you very much.
So Google Analytics has integrators that are partners.
That is absolutely going to, yes, in channels. That is going to be when we get to customer relationships.
Okay.
Shh, don't get it.
Okay.
Don't get it. The reason Gmail and all those other apps exist is one purpose and one purpose alone, and that is to drive more users to search. The more people know about search, Google's entire business plan, business model is based on attracting more and more people to do search. Why? Because they make money off of targeted ads. So the more services they offer to draw people to Google, Gmail, how many people pay for their Gmail? I admit I do because I use it for work, okay? Yes, a couple people pay for Gmail, most people use it for free. Anyone pay for the extra storage on Drive or any of the other apps that Google offers? It is such a minuscule revenue stream in the great big scheme of Google things. It is there to drive people to search. Okay, that is the sole complete function of offering all that other stuff, is to drive people to use their search engine to propagate the Google name out there. I mean, everyone knows who they are, and it's for a reason. That is the real goal. Let's talk about customer relationships now, because you absolutely said something. How do you maintain a relationship with your customers? How does Google maintain a relationship with their customers? Okay, so take a look again at our customer segments. We really kind of have our three major ones: the people who are searching, the people who are advertising, and the people who want to monetize their content. How do they develop a relationship, or how do they maintain a relationship with those people? Okay, for the search people, let's take them first. How do they build, develop, and maintain a relationship with the search folks? The answer is right there in front of you.
Provide good search tools.
Bing! Thank you very much. Hello. Let's write that down. It's this color. Provide the best search engine possible. That's how they maintain a relationship with their people, because if the search engine doesn't work, they don't use it. It's customer service 101. Provide a great product. If it's not a great product, who's going to want it? So right there. They also provide those additional services we talked about. And this kind of goes to your point, sir, when we start talking about the advertisers. Okay, for advertisers, let's see, okay, pink. For the advertisers, what kind of relationship does Google have with their advertisers? What do they provide for them? What do they offer them? And you already said one, analytics, okay? SEO, analytics, tools, if you want to write that down. For advertisers, tools.
I'm getting a workout over
Yeah.
here.
And tools, metrics, analytics, training courses. Has anyone ever gone through the Google AdWords training? It's not that easy. Certification, self-service. Has anyone ever checked out Google AdWords Express? For people who are smart enough to not go through the AdWords training and you just want to put a quick ad up there to try and drive some traffic to you, you can go through AdWords Express and it pretty much does all the work for you. But again, it's a tool. It's a tool that's offered to business owners and people who want to advertise. Google makes it very simple and easy for you. That's how they develop that relationship. They also offer personalized service. I get calls from Google people like clockwork about every 3 or 4 months. Hey, so what can we do to make your advertising help your customers, blah, 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 blah. But again, it's part of the personal sales thing, but it's also the customer service. It's like when I asked my friend, are you going to repair these things that you're selling? How are you going to develop that relationship with your customer, and how are you going to keep that going? Is it going to be self-service? Do they buy it and they're out the door? What happens after that? With Google, it's not just you advertise, but they offer you things in return, and they want to help make that experience better, because the more they make that experience better, the more keyword auctions they're going to have, the higher prices they can pay, the more people come to search on the engine. It continues to feed on itself. So the customer relationship aspect is important, and you have to ask yourself, what kind of relationship am I going to have with my customer? So for the content creators, just so we can kind of keep all three major bailiwicks going here. For the content creators, what's the customer relationship for someone who, I have my website and I've developed this content and I'm allowing Google via AdSense to extend their reach on my website? What's the relationship I'm going to have with Google? Think about it. They're giving me money. They are allowing access to their platform, and we will revenue share. So for customer relationship for the content creators, they're allowing me access. And it helps my SEO, because I'm now part of the Google network. And they call you up and they ask how things are going, because again, what does Google get out of this? More reach. The more third-party websites that they can get on beyond their own search engine, the more reach they have, the more they can go to advertisers. How many of you ever been on a website and you're clickety-clicking and you're like, wow, how did they know? You know, over to the side is like, wow, how did they know I was looking for, I'm looking for a blue knit hat, and over here are red mittens. I love red mittens and blue hats. How did they know that? Because they dig into the cookies and the analytics and they know what it is you're searching for, and that's how they do the third-party targeted ads. So if I'm a person who's doing a blog on I love red mittens and you're looking for blue hats, guess what's going to pop up on my website if I'm allowing Google to access it through AdSense? The mittens and the hats, yay! So it's a win-win for everybody. Okay, let's look at revenue stream, because that's important, because without money, you don't have a business, at least very long. Okay, we've already kind of talked about this, mentioned it in the value proposition. For people who are using the web, searching, I'll just write this one up. Free. So Google gets no money from my web search. Zero. Nada. You're not paying for it. Where are they getting money?
Ads.
Ads. Kevin, you want to write that down? Just put down keyword option. Because that's how they make money on their ads. All the different advertisers go in there and they try and outbid each other for the keywords, if you don't understand how that works. And if you do understand how it works, explain it to me, because the math just crushes my brain.
And they change it.
Yeah, and then they change it. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and the next day. Not to sound like Macbeth there, but so that's how they monetize. That's the main monetization stream. For the content creators, are they monetizing on the content creators? No. In fact, it's revenue sharing. They're actually helping, they're actually paying if you've got AdSense and you're a third-party partner with Google, it's free. They're not making any money off you. They are, not from you, but indirectly, because every time someone clicks on one of those ads on your site, Google's making money and they're revenue sharing with you. How benevolent of them to share money with you from someone clicking on an ad on your website. Wow. The right-hand side that we've just did is, where I'm concerned, that's what I look at very hard, because this is the piece that really gets into the marketing aspect. These are the things. If you don't have this, I can't help you. I need to know who you're targeting. I need to know what your value prop is. I need to know how you're communicating with them, what their channels are of distribution, and how you're making money. So for me, that's the most important side. And you know, it's kind of funny, because if you look at left brain, and right brain's emotion, left brain is logic. Okay, my stuff is more on that kind of emotional appeal kind of thing, the right side. So kind of weird how that works out. Now, for everybody else, the left side is extremely important too, because this is kind of the unseen. This is the back end stuff. You know, if you're one of those coders, this is what makes things function. This is what makes things work. So, key resources. Like my friend who, he didn't know that he needed scrap metal and plugs and all this other stuff to make his cool little device. What are the key resources? Thinking about it again from Google's perspective, what are the key resources that Google needs to employ? What do they need to make this work? What do they need to make this search engine work?
Brilliant technologists.
Brilliant technologists.
I'm not going to spell that.
You think I'm going to spell that?
Smart people.
Smart peeps. Smart. Let's see. Smart. You know what? We're going to use something else. We'll use a different color. They need smart peeps. Key resources can be physical, they can be intellectual, they can be human, they can be financial. But they need smart peeps, otherwise known as BABs, which is my terminology for big-ass brain. So, they need the best search engine on the platform, okay? And those smart peeps give it to them. They can't do this without that. And if they don't do this, they go the way of Alta Vista. Anyone remember them? Yeah, okay. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So an enormous amount of intellectual and human capital both go into the smart peeps and the search engine. Agreed? Anything else? Anything else you can think of as far as key resources for them?
Infrastructure.
Thank you. Write that down. Yeah, 'cause you're getting a workout, man. See, you should have sat in the back and kept your mouth shut.
It's not my nature.
Yeah. So they've got to have that back-end IT infrastructure. So that's a key resource they're going to have. Duh. Okay, so we know what they have to have. What are the things they have to do? What are the things they have to do? Key activities. What are the things they have to do to make this work? In some terms, I mean, if you're a car manufacturer, you make cars. You have an actual production line. So Google, what do they have to do to make this work? I mean, and there's, are they solving a problem? Are they creating a network? Are they building something as a production? When it comes to activities, think something physical. Think of you have to do something with your hands or you have to do something physical. So in Google's term, I promise I won't make, if you have another one, I won't make you come up here and write it down. What do they have to do? What do they have to do physically?
So, the whole process, I mean, they were card on the processes. So as hardware ages out, putting in new hardware, minimizing the cost to install hardware. I mean, they're down, because that's kind of the business that Medion's in, is hosting infrastructure, but we're much more customized, and we work very closely with unique applications that need to be hosted. If you go to Google or Amazon, they're done an industrial study, so how fast it is to take in and take out a server. So they don't even put screws on the racks, because it takes 8 seconds. So they want as few people in data centers as possible to maximize revenues. And they do that kind of analysis throughout their whole environment. If a server goes bad, or a drive goes bad, they just take out a whole server sometimes, because they got all the analytics.
Does that work? Platform management?
Yes.
Okay. Platform management. Sorry. What else?
Code. The code.
Okay. Is that part of key resources though? Is that kind of part of the, is that really the smart peep piece? I'm asking the question, so I mean, that's I don't know.
Still an activity, I think,
Is okay.
because they're always rewriting it. I mean, that's kind of platform management on the software level.
Okay.
Is that kind of?
No, I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, it's software. In fact,
Yeah, absolutely.
in fact, soft and hardware.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent. I don't have all the answers. What else? What else do they have to do kind of on a physical aspect?
Sales.
I'm going to kind of nug this up a little bit. It's sales, but it's even more than that, because remember, we've got 3 different aspects over here. We've got the advertisers, we've got the people who are searching, we've got the content creators, and they've got to kind of manage actual physical management, someone standing there and being a manager. They have to manage all 3 of those aspects to make sure that everything's being run according to good business principles. They're not burning money, they're doing things smart, the processes are in place. That is more of a physical activity. So we've got, platform management, we have management of all 3 of those different aspects of the value proposition. What else?
They've got one of the 5 rules of business is threat of a substitute. I don't know how they do it. They've got to keep people using it. Because they don't need an iPhone. There was Microsoft, and it was then along come Apple. Google could have along come something else. I don't know how they keep people using Google. And they do though, it works.
This is
They're
how
doing it.
they continue to expand their reach.
Bingo.
Okay? They have to continue to make the product bigger, better, offer more services, because this fails if the second people stop going to search and they start drawing in more people to search, the model collapses, because then they don't have the wherewithal to go back to advertisers and say, look, this is the premier search engine on the planet and we can charge premium prices for it. So you have to, and absolutely spot on, you have to continue to expand their reach, whether it's from promotion, whether it's from advertising, offering more services. We kind of go back to something we talked about with channels and customer relationships. All these are all separate boxes, but they all come together, and you can kind of see how it's all starting to come together, all the interconnectedness that happens among all these different various aspects. Excellent. Anyone else with the key activities? I think you nailed all 3 of them, really. There's the 3 big ones. Now, if they, go ahead.
The one that you can put up any time, it's really a scale question, is HR.
Yes.
Selection and retaining.
Yes.
Entrepreneurs, I'm not sure you need to put it yet.
I-
But at Google, it is key because they're in Silicon Valley and the people are just bidding up. So
I-
they have massages and everything like that for their employees.
I think that's part of key activities and key resources, because you have to maintain, you have to attract the best talent, you have to maintain the best talent, you have to keep the best talent. So, but you're absolutely right. And I'm going to diverge for just a second. People say, Paul, this is a business model, it's not a business plan. You're right. You know what the difference is? Business plan, a lot of words on a lot of pages. If you want to turn this into a business plan, you just hit on, someone asks you, what about the HR aspects? It's already right there in front of you. All you have to do is convert it into words. I don't do that. But you hit on a very key point. Some of those aspects in business plans, a lot of people want to say, what's your budget projections? Okay, I will say this to the camera. Budget projections are bullshit. Okay, and we all know that. We're all making that up. We're all thinking, we're all hoping. That's like knock on wood, fairy dust, and sprinkle all that stuff. There are very few things that are not addressed here that are addressed in a business plan. And things that are addressed in a business plan, I would argue, you're kind of making it up with a wing and a prayer anyway. Could I take this and come up with budget projections if I add some numbers to it? Yes, I could. Am I going to? No. Why? It's not necessary right now, because I'm not putting this in front of a bank. I need to have a foundation of my business and how I'm going to run it, who I'm going to reach out to, and how I'm going to operate. So that's why I kind of stick with this and get away from the nug numbers and stuff. By the way, yes. Okay, so.
I would just contribute one more thing.
Yes.
It's probably implied in what you have, but management and extension without innovation to me is status quo and exposure. So I would say key activity, you talked about barrier to entry over there, or keep people out. If you're not innovating, i.e. getting faster, getting better, you are going to be overtaken. And I'm sure it's in there, but if you want to use this as a business model, I would make it more explicit.
I agree with you 100%. No, I would never want to, I would never, you have to, you're Googling, you have to. And you pay the money for all those bright people to come in. Has anyone ever looked at the Google Challenge they do, like every year? They put out some amazingly difficult problem for some MIT geek to try and figure out, and it's like an 11-year-old, somewhere that does, and then they just throw money at them to come in and work for them. That's what you got to do. It goes into HR, attracting the best talent. It's all these things end up being connected in some way, shape, or form, really. It's not always the case with every business. It is with them. But I know if you just look at some of the explanations on that sheet, you can apply it to your own specific business and what you do. Key partnerships. This is a really odd one with Google because yes and nobody. Google is like this with their search. They don't share. They don't play. No, it's like this. This is ours. It's proprietary. They're not doing shit with anybody else when it comes to their search. So it's kind of a blank page a little bit. You know, I asked the question with key partners, who are your suppliers? Do you have a supplier-buyer relationship with someone? Do you need raw materials? Are you doing something? If we dug down into it, yeah, they don't build their own servers. I mean, they buy from somebody. There are some partners along the way if you dig into the infrastructure. So I'm sure that's, you know. Here's my very technical answer to that. They get some stuff, okay? It's not a lot, and I think it more goes to the key resources piece when we talked about the infrastructure a little bit.
Do you not think that Apple and Microsoft are key partners there? Now, they can choose how they partner, but every day they gotta be strategizing on how to work with or against them.
There's a lot of different aspects of partners, and your point is well taken. There's co-opetition.
Yeah.
There are strategic stuff. I mean, everyone who helped develop Blu-ray were competitors in the market, and they are competitors now. But they all got together to say, let's all make Blu-ray the standard, so we're not doing all this crazy ass shit, and we don't do Sony and Beta and VHS, so we don't have another debacle on our hands. They all got together to make it standard, and then they all went. It's like 10 paces turning fire kind of thing. Are there? Probably, possibly. I don't know. I'm not that into it, but from your standpoint, putting together your business and your business model, who are the people and partners that make your model work? Do you have that supplier-buyer relationship? Do you have I'm trying to think. I mean, I ran in the auto industry. Okay, I mean, there's supplier-buyer. There's a bunch of other ones that are on that page. Now, if we were to look at, and here's an example that involves Google's, staying with the theme. If we were to look at their Chromebooks or their Android phones, do they make them themselves? No, they do not. They had Lexus, they had LG. They've got a bunch of different people. They don't make the Chromebook. They partner with someone. They provide the operating system. So that would be a great example of a key partner that would be involved if you were kind of dig into that side of it. So at the end of it then, what are we left with? We're left with the cost structure. How does it, how are they going to pay to make all this work? Okay, so what does Google have to pay for? We already kind of intuitively know. They've got their building, they've got their people, they have their infrastructure. They're the fixed costs that's pretty much universal. Every business is going to have people. It's going to have stuff that they have to pay for. Payroll. I guess I would just put down a ubiquitous platform costs. That involves all of the above. And for your own business, you can and should dig into great detail what each of those are. Just like I did with that young man, I was like, how much should it cost you to make this? What are your raw materials? What's your hourly wage? What are you going to have to pay for? Are you going to have to pay for health insurance? I mean, for people. You've got to dig down to the details and figure that out. Because you can't figure out what your real revenue stream is. You know where the money's coming from, but you don't know what your profit margin is unless you know how much it costs you to build the thing in the first place. Okay, now, last thing I'm going to say is connect the dots. Here, 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 here. When you build your own model, start connecting those dots, the different colors. Again, I use the different colors because it's easy. Free, person, connect those. You see the relationships. And it's actually helpful sometimes. I've taken a picture of these before and then removed all the clutter and left one. If any of you are interested, or if you ever want to get business model generation, they actually do a model of Google. It's not as intense as the one we did, but they do connect the dots. And there's a reason you see those relationships. It's extraordinarily helpful. there you go. Google, the multi-billion-dollar business, 17 billion reasons why they're, doing well. And in what, 25, 30 minutes, we just crashed through putting their business model up on a piece of paper that I think, look, if I get it, I know you guys do, okay? You built it. You put this together. I just I provided the sticky notes and stuff. So it can be done. It can be done with technical things. It can be done with production. There are business models in this book for self-publishing authors, okay? In fact, I'm working with a couple of authors right now, and I've taken them through. There's 8 different models that they can go through to figure out what their business model is going to be as an author, okay? So this should help you focus your business objectives, what's important, what's not, cut away the things that aren't. And you can see the interdependence between all those things when you connect those dots. This is not something that is mentioned in Alexander Osterwalder's book when it comes to the canvas. He does mention in there, but this is something that is very near and dear to me, again, because this comes out through this process with mission, vision, and values. Again, I'm not going to read this, but I will simply say you have to have these somewhere along the way as a foundational tool, either beginning, middle, or end of working through this process. You either have them already and they help guide you on this, or they come out very intuitively as you are working through this. Just as a point of reference, a lot of people confuse them, and it helps if you just kind of put it in your head. Mission is today. It is current. Vision, aspirational, it is the future. Values are always. That's a foot tapper, always. How many of you have walked into a business somewhere and you see a mission statement up on a board? It's like it falls into the background. It's not important. No one knows it. No one reads it. Or values. There's 86 values. We love baby chicks. We do blah 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 blah. If everything's important, nothing's important. I have a litmus test with values when I talk to people about this, and they're like, "Well, we value this, we value that." Okay, I get it. We're all good human people. I love puppies and baby chicks too. But let's talk about values. And here's my litmus test. If I walked up to you and I said, "Kevin, I will give you $20 million to buy your company. You can stay as a CEO with a healthy paycheck. But I need you to drop this value because it's going to impede our progress in how we monetize." If the answer is yes, I will drop that value, it is not important. It is not important and it does not belong on the list. If the answer is no, then it is important and it belongs on the list. What are you willing to fall on your sword for? What are you willing to pass up the $20 million check for? Those are the important things that you want to hang your hat on. And don't do the PC thing and list everything. Well, you want to be fair and yeah, okay, everybody wants to be. I get that. That's an understood thing. But let's really nugget down to what's important. And the same thing with mission. It doesn't have to be some pie. It's just, what are you trying to do right now? It's going to change. Mission will change. It should change because you're going to meet your objectives and you're going to set new objectives and your mission is going to change. Your values, your vision is going to change over time because as you develop and evolve, you no longer aspire to be the regional leader in sales. You aspire to be a national or a global leader. So these things will change and they should change. The problem with business plans, the way they work now, is vision, mission, values, and these things up here, they're static, they don't change. If you do this right, as a company, as an organization, it's an evolutionary process and it helps keep you on track. It doesn't have to be hard either. I think if you've seen it, we're able to do this, okay? And it should be a lot of damn fun, seriously. If you want to, Alexander Osterwalder in the book, he says, get in the break room, put this up, get the whole gang in there every once in a while. Me and my partner spent 3 hours at Liberty Tap Room. We took this thing, it lays out on in a booth, trust me, I've done it. We put it up on a wall in Buffalo Wild Wings before, okay? And the people look at us, actually they're used to us by now. 3 hours, a pretty good bar tab, and we came up with a business model for one of our clients. It can be done, and it should be done, not in a vacuum, but with a bunch of people thinking it through, and you revisit it time after time. We do some of our best work in bars, by the way. You can't not finish with a quote because everyone, I mean, I already used my stormtroopers, so I had to do this one. For those of you who are students of military history, great, but even if you're not, the whole idea of planning, failure to plan, planning to fail, that's too trite. What I'm trying to get at here is that, is this going to be the way things are? No, not necessarily. Going through the process, you are going to expose a lot of things that maybe you didn't think about before, maybe you didn't consider. We just did one of these with a client, some of you might have heard this earlier, based out in California. He's got a multi-sided platform, and we just walked through this with a client. He's been at this for a year, and he's a really smart guy, and he had a lot of the groundwork already laid. In walking through this with him, we discovered a customer segment he totally missed, we all totally missed until we talked through it, and a revenue stream that we all totally missed based on that customer segment. Based on that discussion, he has altered his model. That is now the main customer segment, and that is going to be his main revenue stream. And it didn't exist before, but when we kind of mapped this out and looked at where the dots connected, it made perfect sense. Think it through, and you cannot go wrong. This is not a waste of your time. It's not a waste of your energy. Now, I'm going to put in this plug. We're pretty much at time. If this kind of thing interests you, this kind of no-nonsense approach to doing things, number one, for anybody, highly recommend Hold It Still, or try to. I had too much coffee. Business Model Generation by Alexander Osterwalder. It's $20 on Amazon. It is worth the investment. I have gone through 3 copies because I keep giving them away to people, so I'm not going to do it anymore. But there is a lot more to it than this. This is only a very small portion of the book. It goes into SWOT analysis. It goes into blue ocean stuff. It's sincerely worth your time. But if you like this kind of no-nonsense approach to how to get things going and how to think about things, I highly recommend, if you have not done so already, looking into the biz camp that Ernest and the gang are putting on next month. A really dear friend of mine who is super smart is helping put it together. It is going to be an awesome, very small grouping. One of my partners is going to be giving a discussion, I think, on brand management. It would be worth your time, or if you know people who are starting their business, who want to look into HR, IP protection, legal stuff, whatever else you've got going on. It would probably be worth their time. I know I've kind of, unfortunately, we kind of went a little long on this, but questions, anyone? I'll open it up to discussion. Thank you for participating in putting this together. I did not want to do this myself.
I think one thing I would just say, Paul, to that is the exercise that you went through is absolutely fantastic, and so from my standpoint, it was the basis for the formation of the CDC. It was that simple. It was on one page, and I remember basically when I handed it to Mary, he looked at me like, "You've got the city's economic strategy on one page." Basically it was, and I said yes. I said because I figured you'd lose attention if it was 8, 10 pages, that kind of thing. You didn't have a limited amount of time. But I think the one thing I would also say when you're doing this, because it's internally focused on your organization, is, and Paul alluded to it, Osterwalder, I've never really, you need to understand what the competitive landscape looks like. That is hugely important. I have folks come in here, and exactly like you said, here's what I'm going to do. And they haven't figured out basically that 800 basically people out there doing the very same thing. That's hugely important. Everybody thinks that when they're in an incubator, an entrepreneur and an accelerator, that they're the only ones in the world doing this stuff. And I have people that sit in my office and tell me, here's what I want to do. And by the time they hit the door on the way out, I've already figured out 4 competitors, and they just got to tell me they have no competitors. So they don't get to come back, because I just have to manage my time. But I think this exercise is hugely important. The other thing is, communicating it to the organization. It's much easier to communicate on one page. I think to the idea of BizCamp, I remember when I initially thought about it was at 14. It's not something that's kind of esoteric, it's more fundamental. If you go out to sell something tomorrow, you develop with a friend of yours a piece of software, who owns it? If you had a revenue share with him, who owns it? What happens, I'm in the situation right now. I'm getting ready to bring on a third party basically to develop on a platform that I've developed because the guy is currently working on it can't take it to the next level. Well, the argument is who's going to share the revenue when it goes to, so these are foundational things. Legally, we don't think about this. Business partnerships have a higher divorce rate than marriage partnerships. So you better, I don't know what the number is, but it's close to 75, 80%. So you got to start thinking about these issues. Who are you bringing in? If you're going to hire a salesperson, they're better at selling themselves than you'll ever imagine. And then when you get in the organization, basically you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this person? So if you don't have the metrics in place to actually start monitoring. So we go through this exercise in a very informal way, but we're monitoring on a quarterly basis, not even an annual basis. It's almost because the competitive landscape is shifting that quickly. And I'm not even, if you think about it, I do think of the CDC as a product. And so I'm one of the few guys basically, and we do have a brand that we're constantly managing. And it's much easier for me to, when I'm going through this exercise, basically from an overall perspective, this is the brand thing that you're going to get. I tell folks, I said, anybody comes work for me, I said, we have 3 things we live by. We're exclusive, we're successful, and we're energetic. That's the CDC. And if you don't basically see that in staff, I want to, I hear about it, right? Oh, well, they came in and they were like a wet rag and they didn't really greet us. And, so it's just easier to basically, judge people by those 3 and say, listen, step up and that's enough. Social media, that's in our way we operate, that's in our presentations, rather than, as you said, basically, I went into a company the other day, there must have been 12 of these values. By the time the CEO walked up, I was down to like 3. I hadn't even looked at the other 9. And some of them were so frivolous, it was laughable. So I think that it's, to your point, basically, what can I not live without?
Stormtroopers are always a value, by the way.
So thanks, Paul. Appreciate this. It was nice and reinforcing for me and for you guys. You actually have paper. I think it's really interesting to go back and go through the exercise yourself. And one of the things that we're going to do is start to focus on a little more the business side here, because we tend to focus on the technical side. But I've had people sit in offices here, go out and build out a product, and then basically when I asked him, and it was all about eyeballs, and I said, so let's just basically say you get to Shangri-La, basically you got 100,000 eyeballs. How do you monetize? And they're like, oh well, we need to, So it's not just, it's that level of conversation before you start, producing stuff. If you can start thinking like that, that's very helpful. So thanks again, appreciate it.
What else y'all got? Anyone? I know you got like stuff to do and a beach to probably go hit and go to.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Feel free to take a picture, do whatever you want of this, or again, I take credit, and I am proud of saying this. I have not had an original idea in 50 years, okay? Everything I got here is the people at Strategizer and Alexander Osterwalder are free sharing all these diagrams, all this stuff available on the web for free. You can print one of these out, by the way. I will share this with you. Do not make the mistake I made one time. I went to go take out one of these business model canvas. You can get the PDF off the web, and I went to FedEx Kinko's and said, I would like a 24 by 36 of that. That would be $40, sir. Go to Office Depot, okay, with your 24 by 36, or with that in mind. Take your, you can do this online. Go to the blueprints, not poster, blueprints, $3.96. Okay, so yes, don't do what I did the first time. Okay, and then my friend is like, she comes back with like 5. I'm like, oh my God, you spent $200? She says, I spent 20. I was like, what? And then she showed me blueprints, Office Depot. Yes, online. So wish I would have done that.
That's the lean startup presentation.
Yeah. No, all this stuff is for free. It's available on the web. I highly recommend you access it and use it, because don't come see me until you do. Or if you want to, I'll be happy to walk you through the process, but why? You can do it yourself. I'll validate it for you, but, and this is something you mentioned this to Kevin too, because I'm sorry I caught him. I am not saying by any means, by no means am I saying, do not go find a professional business strategist to help you. I think that is a smart, prudent move for anyone who has a larger enterprise that they're looking to expand and want to have someone come in and really validate things and give them a solid foundation. I'm a huge proponent of having professional people come. I'm a huge proponent of having professional people come in and help you, and there's a lot of them around the area, and they're fantastic. You guys are working with one right now. Highly recommend it. If you can't afford it, if you want to give yourself your own running start, this is the best way to go. I have found, and there's a ton, lean startup and blue ocean strategy. You know, there's a ton of different models out there. This one works for me. Another one might work for you. My bottom line takeaway message is do one of them. Give yourself a foundation before you call me or someone else, because anyone, and here's my final warning, and I've shared this with a few people before. One of my friends made a $9,000 mistake on this recently. Before you go talk to a marketing or PR or advertising company, have this done. And anyone you go to who says, without this, anyone who doesn't ask for this up front says, oh, we got a great strategy for you, run the other way, run out fast, okay, because it is not going to work. You cannot just slap and bolt on a strategy on a company or a business or a product you know nothing about and you have not dug into this. This works because I could go to a company that has something like this developed and I've got something to work with. But without that, you're burning your time and your effort, and I hate to see that from people. So, have a great weekend.
Thank you.